Two, one. Hey Veda, welcome to AnewVista's Tech Talk Unfiltered. How you doing today?
Hey Eric, I'm doing great. This is Veda.
All right, so Veda, as a reminder, you're out there in the greater Sacramento area, providing classes out to, especially to Escon Carmichael up there.
Yep.
I'm based here in the peninsula, getting lots of more classes all over the place. Uh,
And we're getting more grants too.
and we are getting more grads, and we can't do this stuff without the effectiveness or the generosity of our grantors, which include people like Peninsula Healthcare District, Dignity Health, Sequoia Hospital, Sequoia Healthcare District, Silicon Valley Community Fund, El Camino Healthcare District, the Forum Charitable Fund, Los Altos Mountain View Community Fund, the Rotary of Los Altos Health Trust, Touchpoint, Comcast, and Kiwanis.
And also, we couldn't do this without our facility partners. And not only do they give us a facility to host our tech talks, but they also pay us to do it there and, be it in front of their residents and those types of things. At Eschaton Village, Carmichael, we've got the V in Palo Alto, the city of Milpitas, the city of Burlingame, Avenidas Village, the Veterans Memorial Senior Center there in Redwood City, the Peninsula Family Services, and the Truesdale, the India Community Center, and the city of Los Altos.
Yeah, we should add a couple more of these. I did a couple of classes. I'm doing a couple of classes at the Peninsula Healthcare Health and Fitness Center, which
Oh,
is interesting
wow.
because it's a rehab. It's kind of a rehab and occupational health, and I think people just I gotta ask them, but I think people just go work out there. But we had 25 people in person there, and it was kind of it's a nice little place. And then, we're starting the PJCC this month over in Foster City.
Yep.
I was doing a kind of an introduction to a new Vista today to some people in, I guess it was Santa Clara Aging Group or whatever. And um, we talked about why do we go to where people are at, and we try to disseminate information any way we can. But the added benefit is not only that we get to go out there and meet people in the places that they're comfortable in, which we call centers of trust. It also helps keep our costs down, and so we don't
Yes.
have to pay for a building.
Right.
When we first, and I kind of think we've changed the way people look at grantors or granting, because when we first started doing these grants, they're like, "Oh, we want to do a site visit." I go, "Well, we don't have a site. Come visit us at
Yeah. Come
Redwood
visit
City
us
when
right where
right
we're
when we're
doing
doing
the
the
tech
class."
talks.
And that's part of it is like because people are already used to going there. Why do they want to go to a new place? You're already going
Correct.
to one of these centers of trust, these senior centers, or these living facilities. It's like it's easier for us to bring one person to you versus 25 or 30 people to us. And so especially as we get older, it's who wants to leave their home, or who wants to go to a place and not do something else. So go to a senior center, go see your friends, go catch a class, go have lunch, chill out, relax, and chat with your buddies, right? I mean, that's where we should be doing it, and it's I think it's kind of a way that I don't want to say a stroke of genius, but it makes sense, right, for us to
Well,
go to them.
I like how it puts our seniors at ease also, because it is a
Yes.
center of trust. And by going to the center of trust, they know what to expect. They know that there has been some semblance of accountability and things built in. And then we work with the people there to build accountability, which
Yeah.
I really like. So, you know, I know at Eschaton we've done this. I know at the V we've done this. I know at several places where we've gone in. You've done this a lot with the Veterans Memorial Center and
Well, everywhere. I mean,
Avenidas and all this stuff, right? I
yes.
mean, there's so much stuff that where we build those relationships. There's the transparency that gets built in with that, and the accountability that we build with that, and I really like that.
Well, when I was at Avenidas, one of the things when I first started getting into this stuff, and I can't believe it's been like 8 years ago already,
Right.
because we've been doing this for six. Um, One of the things I realized is no matter who you are, there's a public and private persona. Like when we
Mm.
go out, even I mean us, I'm not talking about just seniors or
No,
whoever
that's
goes
true.
out, but when we go out and we're in a public place, we have a different persona, which may be a little more outward, a little more social than when we are at our home or when, you come when we do one-on-ones with people or whatever, they're a little more reserved. But there's always this public persona, which is different from um, what I think. I don't want to call it's just different, right? It's just different as how people act.
It's a different
And
dynamic.
it's different environment. Um, and so, it's when we're also the beneficiaries, and this I think what differentiates us from everybody else is that we also do in-home appointments.
Yes.
And when we
And
do the in-home appointments, we see a totally different persona potentially than what we'd see in a senior center or in a public setting. And it's just perfectly natural. And I'm not saying it's good or bad, it's just different. But where we get our insights is when we're in that private persona, one-on-one with technology, and we can translate that into our classes and instruction. And I think that's one of the things that helps our community resonate with what we're teaching.
yes, because we actually see the efficacy of what we're doing and we get to see the end point. Yeah, is this working or isn't it?
Well, it's and the frustration.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I can't believe how my clients come in or my students, whatever, and they have just the what seems to me like a simple problem, but when you start adding all the layers of skills they need to solve it, I can see why it's confounding. But we take them step by step and get them through it, and they start sharing that with others. It's really nice how it
Well,
happens.
let me ask you this question because I've been doing the in-home a little bit longer than you have, but
Hmm.
when you they people will call you and they say, "Hey, I have a problem, come fix it," right?
Right.
But when you get in there, what we're asking them is, "What are you trying to do? What do you want to do?" And then and it kind of goes down this other rabbit hole of, "Hey, we should explain this, or we need to fix this workflow, or we need to change the way they're doing, or give them a different way of accomplishing what they want to do versus what they originally called us." I mean, I will
Correct.
say, probably 40% of the people I see, I fix the thing that they want, but then I go and discover that it's 60% of the time I discover something else that could be done better or differently or easier
Yes.
for them. And so that's part of, I mean, it's also one of the kind of evolutions or the iterations that we've seen throughout the years of doing our classes that if you remember when we first did our classes, we had some questions that were either very basic or didn't have the understanding. Now, when we get questions, people actually know what they're asking and looking for
They
because,
stump me sometimes. It's great.
yeah, but I mean, it's a much more specific. They can set the context and scenario of the question. They can
Yeah.
articulate what they're trying to do, and then we can solve it for them, in our meetings or our tech talks or whatever. Versus, hey, I don't know how to do X, or I don't know how to send an email. Well, now it's like, hey, I'm sending an email through my Apple account on my Mac, and I'm getting this, error or whatever. And they're very specific and they know what they're looking for, which is showing us that they're growing in their competence.
Hmm. I know for one of my clients, he was having difficulty getting on to a Zoom meeting, and the problem for him, he's just having a hard time learning the vagaries of Zoom. So, do you go in? Do you start the meeting from within Zoom? Do you click a link that your invite was sent to you? All this kind of stuff, and it wasn't consistent to him because of how he was receiving the information and how he had to engage. And so all we did was say, okay, look, if you're going to go to this meeting, this is the invite that you received, and it's a a URL. So we went on a Safari and created a custom URL that just drops onto his desktop.
Yeah.
And I show him how to do that, and he was able to drag it over, put the URL there, and he just double clicks that, and he's off and running. So it works out great.
Interesting. I never had that thought or that scenario where I had to do that, but yeah, no, that works.
Yep.
Again,
This way,
changing the workflow.
yeah, exactly. Finding out what they really want to get done, and just go, okay, this is you need to work with your trainer once a week. Okay, here's how to do it.
Yep. Interesting. All right. Hey, so we haven't talked for Ooh, it's almost been well, it's been almost been a month, I guess.
Yep,
It's January
close
22nd
to
was
it.
our last, so it's like 3 weeks or four, close to a month. We've done a lot of classes. And so I think when we last talked, we were talking about AI and SIM swaps and authenticator apps. Kind of want to just kind of go through some of our interesting classes that we've done over the last 3 weeks. We did everything from smart switches and plugs to streaming TV to cleaning up your email, backups. We both did backups. We did ride shares, Waymo, Lyft, and Uber. We're doing a bunch of health type of classes this month.
Yes.
Android Health app, Apple Health, smartwatches. We're doing the sleep and health tracking wearables at PJCC, and so there's a whole bunch of other stuff. We're doing a kind of an important class coming up about breaches and if you get a data breach, what do you
Then
need
what?
to know? How do you respond? Should you do? Right. And then we were doing things like deep fakes, which we're going to kind of really explode into in April about a bunch of other stuff. But let's go back to some of the January classes and stuff. So you did in Eschaton a lot of Apple stuff. Because
Correct.
most of your people in Eschaton, they're on Apple products.
About 90% of people are on
Yeah,
Apple mobile products.
yeah.
Of the 90%, I would say 30-40% of them are Windows users and the rest are Mac users.
Okay. So you do a lot of Apple stuff up there.
Right.
Do you remember when we first started doing these classes who said, "Hey, what do you guys think of the cloud? What's the cloud?" And I swear to God, 30% of them said, "I don't know, it's something in the air."
Yes.
And I'm like, well, okay, but we don't see going back to what we were just talking about. We don't hear those type of questions anymore.
No.
People understand that, hey, it's a bunch of compute services. Um, so out of your Apple classes, 26, iOS 26, Mac OS 26, iCloud Basics, um, anything kind of strike you out of that from audience questions or
Well,
engagement or
the big
interactions?
thing for me was in the 26 one, people keep saying, "Oh, should we upgrade? Should we upgrade?" I keep telling them to hold off. But iOS 26.3 is looking really solid. I've been using the beta for about 3 weeks, and they just came out
Yeah, I
with
just
the
updated that on my iPad.
and it is solid. That one I have not had issues. And everything else before that, I have a bunch of glitches. This one works really well. It also gives us the customization we need to get rid of some of the transparency and the things like that so that it's much more legible, much more contrast for people with weaker eyes, those types of things. So I really like how, this version makes all of those things just work. Yeah, I'm not doing workarounds.
Yeah, the biggest complaint I get from iOS 26 is they can't see it.
Yep.
They hate the liquid glass. Um, the mail categories are poorly explained. They just pop up and that's what they are.
Hmm.
Um, but now you can't completely turn off liquid glass, but you can minimize some of the
You can
impacts
tone
to
it
it.
down a
Yeah.
lot. Yeah, it almost is non-existent when you do all the settings and accessibility.
Yeah, so I did that class this last week on iPad, iPhone accessibility options. We talked a lot
Yep.
about the magnifier, but we talked about, turning off some of the settings. And so it has gotten better. I'm gonna go on my Apple tangent. It's Apple does all these things that they think are really cute without really understanding that, hey, you have a large audience and large and diverse audience base.
Right.
Um, but I kind of feel like they're like SAP is like, we'll make a change and you just have to adjust to it.
Right. And I don't understand why they make changes without adding value to it. So to me, it's like a pain point that this is a new way of doing things, and it doesn't add any value as far as, making things easier or we're working with other procedures to make it flow easier. None of that. It's just different. And I
Well,
don't
that's why I
understand
said that I use the adjective cute. Right? They make a bunch of cute changes.
it.
Well, if you remember, what was the big release? We can make ourselves into animal emojis.
Yeah, wonderful.
Well, that's a value add in the work environment or my social engagement, I guess. It can make me look like a unicorn,
You know,
Asian unicorn.
I have I have seen some,
Make me into a
younger people
dragon.
use those things, but they didn't use it very long.
No, no. But if they spent millions of dollars on advertising for that, if you
I
remember,
know.
it was
And
ridiculous.
emojis.
Yes. Anyway, so any interesting questions or comments? Like I said, I think, with that and the accessibility class that we did on iPhones, iPads with 26, I think, it's coming around. I
Yes.
think it's coming around. I mean, it's one of those things, going back to again, it's like you enable these changes, you kind of make a big change to how it looks. You should have a way in that release to turn it off because you're going to lose people, right? You're going to
Correct.
lose. I mean, I can't tell you how many people I've had ask me, can I roll this back?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you can, but kind of. We can reset your phone and, pull it back to something else, I guess, but I don't want to do that. But yeah, it just takes time for this stuff to kind of filter through. We both did a ride share
Yeah, and
class.
the big questions that came up in my rideshare class were all about the driverless cars in San Francisco.
Yeah.
What was that experience like, and what could you trust it and things. And it's funny how it's kind of become a tourist thing in San Francisco that you
Yes.
could just get a Waymo and go somewhere. And
So
I
you guys don't
find
have
it,
them in Sacramento yet, right?
no, they don't, but they're
Okay.
getting close because they can go on freeways now.
Yes.
So expanding their area of operation is going to become much easier.
It is. I've yet to take a Waymo. I haven't had the need yet, but the next ride share I get, I'm going to take a Waymo. So some of the things that are interesting about Waymo, they've expanded. They have flat rate pricing,
Yep,
which I appreciate. So if I need to go to a concert at the shoreline, I don't need to pay the exorbitant fees that Uber and Lyft would do. I just take a Waymo, right, and just
correct.
pay the same price. But here's my argument. My argument, or my so I should back up. Last time I took an Uber to the airport, and then an Uber back to the airport, the Uber driver almost killed us.
Yeah.
Literally almost killed us. And on the way back, um, it was just pretty miserable.
Oh,
Let me just say
really?
that.
As
You
far as the
know,
service or the driver?
well, just the service and the driver and whatever. Right. And I'm like, okay, fine. With the Waymo, I will argue that the Waymo system is much more conservative and safer. You might take you a little longer, but
Hmm.
I would argue that they are safer and a more conservative driver than the Uber and Lyft drivers.
I agree, and I'm shocked at how I can watch the car anticipate a potential problem
Yes.
and steer away or decelerate, accelerate, whatever it needs to do to put as much time and space between a potential problem and what could happen.
Yep.
It's amazing.
It is. And it was just, I was in Atherton. There was a Waymo there. And if you've ever noticed on the Waymo, if you're sitting behind a Waymo, it has a little person icon on top of the
Yep.
roof when people are
Mhm.
coming. So it's waiting for people to cross the street. And cars were cars with drivers in them were like going around it.
Yes.
I'm like, are
And
you,
through crosswalks where people are active.
yes. I'm like,
I know.
what are you guys doing? Do you not see the person sign
Do
on
you
top
not
of
see
the
the big beacon up top that we're stopping for people?
yes, and so you decide to go around them on a, one lane, one car road each way, right? And it's like you guys are people are just well, let's not get into road rage and people's ability to drive.
Yeah.
But I argue this all the time. I will bet you that the Waymos are safer than Uber drivers. Now,
But the statistics show that,
yeah,
that the number of incidents is drastically lower than the Uber drivers.
yes,
AI is getting to be a better driver than human. That's all there is to it.
yeah, and you don't have to. You can listen to your own music. You don't have to listen to your driver's music.
I really like that. I
You
can I
know,
can put whatever I want on.
the cars are newer and clean.
Constantly cleaned.
And I don't know. I mean, I know it's kind of a weird feeling to not have a driver in the car, but again, these driverless cars are better drivers than the people who are driving the cars for a living.
Agreed. And they're not they're not like drastically slow. Remember when the first driverless cars came out? They would creep along certain things they didn't know about. They would stop quickly for the slightest
Yep.
thing. They're not like that anymore.
Yes. They've gotten really good. So, so here's it's getting increased competition.
Hmm.
So Waymo's got the big investment from Google.
Right.
I think Zoox has a big investment from Amazon. And then Uber, of course, is investing heavily in driverless cars as well. And so
Correct.
it's coming. It's coming. It's the here. Let me ask you a question. I'm going to digress for a second.
Okay.
You ever watch like the original Tron or
Yeah, way
little
back.
science fiction,
I
right?
was
Way
thinking that
back in,
because I saw the latest Tron Ares and thought like I
yeah.
went back and watched the original one. Yeah.
But you know the sound, or what's the Bruce Willis movie with Jovovich or
Oh
whatever?
yeah, The Fifth Element.
Yeah. And so how do our people who make how did they know that electric cars would sound like they do?
Oh wow.
Because if you go
The,
back and watch those movies, they
the
kind of
sound
sound,
design is pretty dead on.
yes. Are,
Yeah.
are are manufacturers doing it on purpose, or is that just how they sound? I
Well,
I
the
I
the
how did you
manufacturers
know?
have to create a sound because they're too quiet. They have to warn of their presence, so they create these sounds. And I wonder if they are being informed by things, by the movies and stuff like that, if they
But these
watched
movies are like 40 years old. I hate to age us all, but they're like 40 years old and they sound like our electric cars
it.
today.
They do. Oh, but that just shows you how good the sound designers were, though, that they were that influential and that dead on.
Somebody's an alien somewhere. Elon Musk is an alien. Anyways, yeah, so I gotta tell you, if you and I, when we were kids, have Lyft and Uber, we probably a bunch of our high school buddies would probably still be alive because they didn't get in a DUI. It is
Oh,
so easy and so accessible to get a Lyft, Uber, or Waymo now
yes.
that there's no need to go to a bar, um, get drunk, and then drive home. There's no
No,
need for it.
even if I'm going to go to a dinner and I'm planning on having a couple drinks, I take a freaking Uber because
Yeah,
it's
I mean,
so easy and it's just, why risk it?
right. I mean, and what I will say about this generation of kids is that they all know that.
Hmm.
Right. They all know that they can just go get a Lyft or Uber and go home. They get another Lyft and Uber, go back in their car in the morning. The challenge is getting our senior community to take a Lyft, Uber, or Waymo.
I find, you know, some like the young old are
Yeah.
much more amenable to doing it.
We should
The
clarify what you just said because when we look at our TAM, we look at our kind of audience. We have the youngest old, the middle old, and the oldest old. And
correct,
it's not with the acronyms, it's just a category of age, like newly retired, kind of, post 10 years retired, and um, those who need mobility care or memory care or something else when we hit
correct.
the last stages. So I want to make sure people in the audience, if they listen to this, we're not talking disparagingly about it's a categorization of the kind of cycles of age post retirement.
And it's the people with mobility issues that are the most resistant and also find it harder to work with Uber. Uh,
Yes,
you know, you can get Uber cars that, where the driver has taken extra training to, to help people with additional needs, but they're not always dead on, they're not always on it.
right.
So, and the impatience of some of the drivers is crazy. It's like,
Well,
wait,
that's what I meant is the impatience and like the last driver, he wouldn't even get up. We had five pieces of luggage, all carry-ons, but he just kind of popped the trunk and sat in his driver's seat.
oh
I'm like,
my
you're expecting a
gosh.
tip?
Yeah, right.
But back to your point was if somebody asks, so even if you get, whatever, XL, right? Or the XXL, the large one, if you have a walker or
Correct.
something like that. If you ask the driver, especially the ones if you get an XX, I think it's XXL, right? The larger one.
Correct.
If you ask the driver to get your wheelchair or walker out, they will be more than happy to do that.
Yes, they will.
9 times out of 10, they will be more than happy to do that, especially if they know they could potentially get a tip as a result of it.
Right. And I have found, when I've gotten the better cars, that the drivers want
The
their
drivers are
cars
much nicer.
yeah, and they're much nicer, so they don't want the cars dented or hit, so that they
Yes.
want to load the wheelchairs, the walkers, and things like that, rather than having a third party do it, because this way they can control it.
Yeah, I used to kind of be resistant to taking an Uber, especially to the airport or a Lyft or whatever. And I'm just gonna take one because, by the time I take pay for parking or I pay for somebody's gas to go pick us up or
Yep.
whatever, our flight's delayed, flight's early, whatever the case may be, it's just so much easier to say, oh, there's an Uber there is waiting for you, and give me $60 to get home, right?
Yeah, and
And it
parking is
just
so expensive. Like a place like SFO, come on, it's ridiculous.
SFO parking is ridiculous.
Yeah,
S-
even
Uh,
off-site.
yeah, San Jose is not bad. I mean, it's like
No,
$30 a day, but still $30 a day on a 5-day trip is under $50.
you're right, and
You know,
that pays for your Uber trips.
exactly. That's exactly right. But yeah, so if you can afford it, I mean, it's a few dollars more. The XXL, the cars are a little nicer, they're a little bigger. You can always get the black SUV, I guess, or the premium from Lyft or whatever. And those guys, if you can afford it and you don't mind, and you take it every now and then, or you're picking up your friends to go to a nice dinner or lunch, take the nicer car. It's a
Right.
nicer experience.
Yep. And Uber
I've gotten to the
Assist is supposed to help elders and people with extra needs, but like I say, it really depends on the driver.
depends on the driver, but I mean, I've gotten to the point where if I go rent a car, like I go on a trip and I go rent a car, I want a nice car.
Yes.
Just because it's like, why not? Just get a nice car. And same thing. I mean, I could get a Uber, Lyft, or Waymo's all the same car, but don't get the cheap one. Get the nicer
But that's
one.
the thing I really like about the Waymo experience. I mean, it is a small Jaguar kind of SUV hybrid type
Yes.
thing. And so
Yeah.
the seat height is nice and high.
Yeah.
So when I'm with a senior, it's easy for them to get in and out of the car.
Yep.
It's not, you don't have to get really low and get out, and push up really high. I really like the cars and the service.
I didn't really look at the pricing difference between the XL and the XXL. The XXL is only like $3 more.
Yeah, it's not that much more.
Yeah, I guess the black and the black SUV are a little more expensive, but you know what? If you're on a nice dinner date with somebody and you need to pick up somebody, that you can put it in the Uber, they'll pick up another person, you drive in a nice car, you go to a nice dinner.
Yep,
It's a whole nice experience.
agreed.
But yeah, the one Waymo's cool. Like I said, I'm trying to find an excuse to take a Waymo. Maybe on next my next trip to Home Depot, I'll take a Waymo or something.
Well, the SFO is now allowing Waymo to pick up people. Now you have to take the tram to the car rental center,
Yes.
but from
Yeah.
there you can catch a Waymo and go anywhere.
Yeah, it goes to San Jose though.
It'll
It
go to
just
San Jose or into the city.
but it doesn't go all the way into your departure gate at SFO. I'm not going to take the
Correct.
tram to the car because if the long distance or the parking to from the gates at SFO is kind of a hike. So I'm not going to do that. It's just me being me. At San Jose, I might take one because it delivers us right there to the door, picks us up right from the
Yes,
door.
it does.
All right. So yeah, I thought the rideshare, and when we did the rideshare classes a couple years ago, it wasn't as popular. I think we're getting more and more. I think it's slowly seeping into people's um personas where they feel more comfortable taking Uber Lyft and maybe a Waymo.
Yep.
I think the flat rate pricing for Waymo is super smart because that just tells people, hey, your daily drive is probably a couple dollars more, but your peak drive is way cheaper than Uber and Lyft.
hmm
And I think that's a really smart way of doing that.
It's another thing that I have, several of my clients and students doing are they're using the new Tesla full self-driving thing to really extend their ability to, continue to drive. They monitor it, but the new full self-driving is really good.
Yeah, I don't think it's quite as good as a Waymo,
No,
but it's
it's
pretty
not.
good. It's
But
pretty good.
but as far as like going through traffic, even parking itself, it's great. Where you monitor it is like sometimes it doesn't pick the optimal lane to do an
Yeah.
exit or a junction or something like that. And so you kind of have to turn on the signal and tell it to move over. But it works really well.
Yeah, that's a whole nother discussion about, about driving and having that. We should, you know what we should do? We should find somebody who, because one of the hardest conversations to have with a parent is when they take the keys away.
Oh, absolutely.
And so, I mean, we can, from our side of the fence, we can say, hey, Lyft and Uber and Waymo, they're great options. You don't have to drive. It's there at your convenience, whatever. We should probably bring somebody in here to talk about, having that conversation. Right? How do you have that conversation?
That'd be a great
It's,
idea. And I'd like, because I have people on both sides of that, whether they've just given up their keys, right? Or they decided to get a new car where it does the full self-driving.
yeah, yeah. I'll just leave it at that. Like I said, I hate Teslas. I hate driving behind Teslas. You know,
Really?
oh yeah, I hate driving behind because it's the one pedal driving, and as soon as you pick up the gas, it slows down. And you've seen me drive. I have no problem going the same speed as long as the guy in front of me is going the right same speed. But when somebody slows down and speeds up and slows down and speeds up, drives me crazy. It's one of my
Agreed.
my driver pet peeves, and it's hard to not do that in a Tesla.
But okay, so for me as a motorcycle rider, the Teslas have become so predictable. It's nice.
Yeah, well, I've called Tesla drivers like the new Prius drivers. I probably shouldn't say that on the podcast, but I might have to cut that out. But
Yeah, right. Except we have the data for that. We have the receipts for that
yes.
one.
So, anyways, all right, let's switch the subject before I get into trouble for here. Hey,
Okay.
so I did a class on not the smart home, but smart plugs and switches. And
Yes.
and really the idea behind having people start playing with smart plugs is because they're so simple.
Very
You plug
simple.
it into a socket, you get the app, you plug in your lamp into it or whatever you can. Like I have my fish tanks on them, right? And so it
Right.
goes on a certain time, it goes off a certain time. I have my outdoor lights when I do the decorations with Halloween or Christmas or whatever else we do. That I don't know if you've ever tried to get mechanical timers to go on at the same time when you put your Halloween
Oh, forget
decorations.
it. Yeah.
It's like
You see
impossible,
go ploop,
right?
ploop.
But you put them on smart switches and they go on within 30 seconds of each other.
Yes.
And so, but we did a class on this. And in the past we would do these smart home classes or whatever, and they were sparsely attended.
Yeah.
We had a
There
really
was
good
not a lot
attend.
of uptake.
Yeah, I mean, with a smart plug, if you can make it work, right, which is pretty simple because they're all over the place and they're like $10, right? They're super cheap. When you go out, you know what? You go on leave for the weekend. You can have the lights go on and off. If you leave it on, you can always turn it off manually. Just from a safety perspective, it's great to have. If you leave and you're on a pretty strict routine and you go out, the lights will be on when you come home. If you have outdoor lights, you don't have to reprogram them with daylight savings. You don't have to reprogram them with
Oh,
when the sun's going down further. You can program them to dusk to dawn and they'll kind of come up and come on. And it's so easy. But what was interesting is, like I said, is there was a lot of people who were interested. And then we went to kind of smart switches, which is a little different, a little more involved because you have to actually do some electrical work. But it was a great entry point into the smart home.
yeah. And, a lot of people have worn out, plugs anyway.
Yeah.
You put a plug in it and then where, it doesn't hold it, which is really dangerous. You want to replace those. Replace them with a smart device. I mean, with a smart plug.
Yeah.
And it's amazing what power that gives you. The big, how I put this, the thing that really pulled my mom into that whole part was when she'd go visit her sister in San Jose, she would panic sometimes. Oh no, did I leave the iron on?
Yep.
Well, once I had the iron plugged into a power strip that's plugged into a smart outlet, it was great. She would literally go and say, "Okay, is the iron thing off?" And she could do it remotely, and she could check it. Oh, it's off, or if it's on, I can turn it off. It was great.
I do that with our Samsung internet connected oven.
Yeah,
Did I leave the burner on?
right.
I leave the oven on. Flip open the phone or ask Alexa, and then is it on? Yeah, it's no, it's off. You're ready to go.
Now
You're good
you
to
can
go.
turn it off now.
So, but anyways, the plugs were a great entry point because I think people understood the value benefit of a smart plug.
Yes.
They can conceptualize because when we talk about the smart home, it's like, I play
It-
the video of like the German advertisement where it's like he's running on a treadmill and the radio says 16, you're 16, and it would go up six, this treadmill will get a 16. And they said, oh, summer 69, and the treadmill will get a summer
Let's go to
69, whatever,
69.
right? And so we're not talking about that. We're talking about practical value or
Yes.
practical installations of our smart home. But you and I had this conversation before we started this about the smart home, and you said, well, you tell them what you said. You tell everybody what you said about
Well,
hubs and
yeah, for me, whenever I implement a smart home for my stuff, I've typically relied on the radio control type things, and there's typically three protocols now. The main one is called Thread. There's one called Zigbee. There's one called Z-Wave. And these allow it to have, extended range, a very reliable range, right? And in some cases, it allows you to encrypt things like the Z-Wave has a security protocol that, and you can actually do HIPAA stuff with Z-Wave. But beyond all that, you know, you have to then get a hub, which is kind of geeky. I mean, it's not simple. You have to have some programming knowledge to make this thing really work.
yeah.
Whereas, if it's all Wi-Fi, if everything just works with Wi-Fi, then you just put up, your Google Nest stuff or your Alexa things, and they just interoperate.
Yep. And that's, when we talk about fixing people's homes and stuff like that, we start with the infrastructure and it's like
Yep.
if you have and I tell people this, I used to tell them, they don't ask me anymore. They just say go do it, right? Because now that's to the point where they kind of understand things a little bit better. But they used to say, well, you know, why do I need Wi-Fi in every room? It kind of works okay. I go, as we get older, and as technology comes along a little faster, we need a great infrastructure. And that great
Correct.
infrastructure, you can have a great infrastructure for just a couple $100 by putting in a mesh system, which then covers your whole house, and you have strong Wi-Fi. Then you get into a situation like I have in my smart home. I'll call it a smart home. I have Arlo outdoor cameras. I have Blink indoor cameras. I have Fight smart switches. I have Samsung smart things. I have all these different brands of I have different brand light bulbs that are in probably different
Right.
lamps in the same room, right? But I don't have to have the hub because I have great Wi-Fi throughout
Right.
the house. I really focused on and building out the Wi-Fi infrastructure, which again doesn't cost a lot. And it's really simple to do. But then they automatically integrate into Alexa. So I can, even though my quick set door lock, Wi-Fi door lock, even though it's by quick set, I can tell Alexa to lock the door.
That's correct.
If
You
I
can't tell it
have
to unlock, which I
No,
really like.
which is great.
Yes.
My fight lights or plugs, I can tell them to turn off the plugs. I just have to name them something different, right?
Right.
which which I ran into with my smart plugs, calling every light in the front of the house front porch lights. but but it's so good now that I mean it's so simple to install your smart devices, and then Alexa has come along so well that it just recognizes these things. It
Yes.
recognizes what's in your home, and you can pretty much control them by voice through Alexa. So you asked me at the beginning of this before we got on about, oh, what do you use? The hubs are this and that. I'm like, well, I don't use a hub. I use Alexa or Google Home. And so I have my Google Nest thermostat. I have my, like I said, all these different cameras. I have all these different things that are in the house. They're all different brands. I don't have to buy any single brand, and Alexa recognizes them all.
Yes, because everything's through Wi-Fi.
Yes. I even recognize, I was looking at, just before we started, I'm like, oh, it's got my printer on there.
You're right.
Okay. And the TVs and everything else. And so it's we can kind of get into the depths of it all and talk about how it is to have a super efficient smart home. But I will guarantee, I would bet most people don't have as many devices as I have, with as many different brands as I have. But the point is that it all works.
Correct. And
And
works
so,
reliably.
yeah, as long as the Wi-Fi is up.
Correct.
I will say that my wife switched to AT&T fiber. It's always up. Maybe it's just my neighborhood, but it's always up.
No, the fiber is just that's the uptime on fiber is amazing.
Yeah, so I will say even the power's out, the fiber's up, right?
Yep.
But anyways, as long as you have great Wi-Fi, you can have a smart home. And we're not talking about, have Alexa open the doors and do this or, make my milkshake or whatever, right? It's it's the practical value added benefits of having things turn on lights for you, being on a schedule. Um, Recognizing that when you're home and when you're not home, or when you're away for a couple of days, you can make people look like the house is up and jumping. You can even have it
Correct.
turn on their TV, during times when you're not home, and turn it off. I
Well, I
mean, it's
like too,
just,
like just my thermostat. When I leave, I can put it in vacation, and just
yep,
before I get home, I can turn off vacation mode, and the house is comfortable when I walk in.
yes. Or how many times have you just forgot if you actually lock the door?
Oh, several times. But
Yeah,
I now have smart locks that lock themselves.
yeah. I never know who's inside of my house. Like I have a bunch of work going on down my house right now, as you know. It's like I give them separate codes so I know who's in and who's coming in and who's
Exactly.
coming out.
And you can
Right? I don't have.
expire them and everything.
Yep. And so I think there's a little more uptick because it's just becoming a little bit more matter of life. It is not hard to put these things together because the interfaces have gotten a lot better. But again, I think we as um, teachers have to keep banging on the value added benefits of having some of this automation.
Yeah, and I think showing specific use cases, like in your case, you showed, why a smart plug and just having a lamp plugged to it, right? That made it so much simpler to turn your lamp on and off. You don't
Yep.
have to, because it may not be wired to your switch or something. You can now put a lamp anywhere in the room, and then with the smart plug, turn it on and off.
You don't even need a smart plug. You can have a smart bulb.
That smart bulb would do it too.
Yeah. I mean, you can get the mood lighting on the smart bulbs, which is I think is
Yeah,
great.
you can change color, you can change all kinds of stuff. But I want to talk about that too. I mean, because we talked about this before too, was when I have all this stuff set up, I really like that I can set scenes, right? So like when I want to
Yes.
watch a television show at night with my wife, I can just sit down on the couch and say, Alexa, TV, set TV room, right? And it'll do it. It'll just put it in TV mode where it dims certain lights, turns off other ones, and just makes it easy to watch.
Yeah. It is nice to have, right? It is very nice to be able to do these things. It's not none of most of it isn't a must have. I will say well, I'll go back to the value added stuff. You did a fall detection prevention class, or I did a
Yes.
fall prevention class, detection class. And one of the biggest reasons why we fall is because we don't know we can't see. So this is why I go back to the value added stuff. So get up in the middle of the night, so what yours is romantic and great and sets the TV.
Yours is going to be more practical.
But mine be a little more practical. It's like I get up in the middle of the night and Alexa turn on the lights, and you don't have to trip over the slipper you left in the hallway in the bathroom and
Yep.
trip over it, right? I mean, these are the reasons why people should have them. You can actually tell even without the smart bulbs, you can tell Alexa to use itself as a nightlight also
Yes.
with the rings and the lights on there. But that's another. I feel like I'm a salesperson for Alexa, but I'm really not. I'm just actually. They've done a good job with it. I think they've done a good job with it.
And I
And
really like how I've extended, Alexa's capabilities, like getting the emergency assist.
yeah,
So, I pay my $60 a year for that. And it's for my mom. And if she ever falls or can't get to anything, she can just say, Alexa, help. Right.
yep,
And it's
yep,
gonna
yep,
it's gonna talk to her first with an AI, but if it deems she needs help, it'll call 911,
yep.
and it'll text all of her emergency contacts simultaneously.
And it could save you dollars on your insurance too.
That's true.
It does. It does. I'd asked my insurance company said, "Do you have monitoring?" I said, "Well, I have this," and they said, "Okay, that's fine." Right? I'm like, "Okay, I can deal with that." Anyway, sorry. But yes, value added stuff. There's just a lot of stuff that these smart homes and smart plugs and smart bulbs and smart locks and all this other stuff because they're really not that smart. They're just hooked up to the internet.
Correct.
You
Which
know,
gives them the ability, or us the ability to make them do things.
Yeah, and we should probably make this other thing clear is that you don't have to be in the home to do it. You can do it from anywhere you're at, right? As long as you
Correct.
have your phone, you have the app, you can do and manage all these different devices from wherever you're at. And so,
Well, like
did I
I've
ever
had to
tell
let
you?
contractors into my garage,
Yeah,
and I could just, they call me up and go, "Oh, Veda, I'm here early. I'll just wait." I'm like, "Oh, no, you can get my garage. I'll just open it for them,
yeah.
remotely."
Did I? My kids will probably listen to this podcast, but I told you that we went to Europe one year and it was 4th of July. We went for a soccer tournament.
Right.
And we have cameras in the backyard and all this stuff. And my kids had a party the night before, 4th of July party. And so I checked on the house from the backyard and there was a fire in our backyard.
Oh, shoot.
So we were in Portugal and I was again, this is value, right? Value benefit where I like was able to look at the camera from my phone and saw that there was a fire in my backyard that as a result of their using the fire pit.
Oh
So I
boy.
was able to kind of wake their butts up and get them to put it out before it became a big disaster. So again, value, right? It's the value and benefit of using some of the stuff.
Yep.
Um, Anyways, so yes, it's come a long way. Alexa's gotten a lot easier. It's very simple to install, and they're very inexpensive. These products are really inexpensive now.
Yes. It used to be, I remember paying $40, $50 for smart plugs, smart switches. They're
Yeah,
$10 now.
yeah, it's ridiculous. All right. What else? Anything else you want to talk about for the last couple of weeks of classes that we did? We both did backups. That's the importance of backups.
Yeah, and backups, there's so many different things. The biggest thing is just find what you're willing to use and you can live with and do it. Like,
Yeah.
I've got a situation now where a friend of mine, not even a client, but they have a computer that it just lost its memory. You can't boot it.
Yeah.
Now, I can try to access the SSD inside, but it's all encrypted. And
Yeah.
now, I can't boot it. So now how do I get into the encrypted zone? It's a mess, but there's no
Yeah.
backup. So please back up your computer.
Sorry. You know, can't help you. I mean, we could help you. It's better to take it to one of those computer shops and see if they can get the information off there that does it.
That's what we're going to end up
Doesn't
doing.
pay for it. But yes, 3-2-1, three copies of data, two local, one off-site. That means having an external backup. As much as I cap on Apple for at the beginning of this conversation, the thing that I appreciate the most from Apple is Time Machine.
That almost alone keeps me in the Apple camp because
Yes.
the backup and restore of all devices in Apple's world is fantastic.
It's like ridiculously easy. If I'm looking for a single file, I go into Time Machine, I find it, and I pull it back out. It is the best thing in the world. Coming from a Windows world, Time Machine is the bomb
Yes,
for Apple products, just on Macs. It is the best thing that they've ever done, in my opinion.
I agree.
W-
They took
Windows,
something that's really esoteric and made it dead simple.
yes, it is fantastic. Windows backup and restore is very difficult,
Yes. And
and
it
it's
hasn't changed since Windows 7.
right. However, OneDrive does a good job also. But then we're talking about the
OneDrive's
cloud
different.
up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
But just
OneDrive
the
is
physical file backup to an external drive is the I would rather do a system image on a Windows machine than I would do a file backup
correct. Well, I
on
actually
a Windows
use
machine.
third-party solutions all the time. I use
Yeah.
MacRam Reflect, on my Windows machines. And it does allow me to do the incremental backup. Now,
Yeah.
restoring things in individual files, it creates catalogs that I can go through, but it's not nearly as simple as it is
No.
in, Time Machine.
I don't know why Windows won't fix their backup problem.
I don't either.
But and this is if you're on a Windows machine, we're just going to tell you make sure you're using OneDrive or Google Drive or even iCloud for Windows if you want to use that. Just because you need to have an offsite backup of your
Yes, you do.
Windows files. Um, or, you know, throw on a hard drive on your Windows machine, drive it and save everything in cold storage on your external drive. I mean,
Yep.
it's just I wish it was better. They don't seem to be putting any energy into that. But like I said, Apple's Time Machine is like first time I played with it, I'm like, this is awesome. This is
Yep.
incredible.
So the
So
two things that really keep me in Apple's world are Time Machine and the search function on the computer. The search for files is so fast and so easy, where on Windows
yeah.
it's kind of painful.
Well, that's all going to change.
I hope so with
Well,
AI.
as soon as we get local AI, it's going to change. Right?
Correct.
Pretty soon. I mean, actually, we do have it. I mean, we have it because if you have OneDrive or whatever, you can use Copilot and it knows everything that's in your OneDrive. And
Correct.
so, it sounds like, it looks like, I think it's what I talked about. This, I think might have called it this, and it'll Copilot will
And
go
it'll
look for it.
find it like a good search instead of like looking for specific names, right? You don't
Yes,
have to be
yes,
exact.
yes. And so, like I said, all that's going to change. But like I said, the time machine, the backups for the two platforms, hand over fist, Apple. Like I said,
Yep.
I wish they would do a better job on Windows. All right. What else? Anything else you want to? Any kind of esoteric kind of conversations that you want to have? Did you
No,
watch
I think we
Pan?
covered pretty much our tech talks and the salient points.
Yeah, we have a bunch of I think really good classes coming up. We talked about data breaches, a little bit more AI. I think in
But I want
April.
go into the data breaches because it's not just about the data breach, but what to do
Yeah, yeah,
once
yeah.
and which is really important. How do we recover from this? How do we keep ourselves safe?
Yes. In March, we've got a bunch of great classes. We're doing, we're going to do a class on the California Drop platform. It'll be interesting because I haven't played with it yet. I'll play with it over the next little bit and do a bunch of research on it. Um, if the California Drop program platform is where you can tell it to erase all your data from accounts and stuff, and it will, at least we think it will.
You're
We'll
right.
see.
That's what we're
We'll
hoping.
see. We're hoping it works. I mean, if anybody's going to do it, it's going to be California. Right? I mean, it
Right.
should start in California. And but anyways, there's lots of good information, and I'm looking forward to April's calendar because we're going to do a bunch of stuff about activism and how we use technology to initiate and be active in our
In our
social,
communities. Yep.
political communities, and I'm kind of looking forward to that. It's going to be like probably 3 or 4 classes that we're going to kind of tear that thing apart. A little excited about that just because it's good to have some new stuff that has a purpose to it all. But yeah, we got shaping up for a good first quarter of classes that, I think people will find super beneficial. Um, Anything else in the world going on? You talk about Epstein or anything?
Heck no. I don't even pay attention to that stuff. That's just noise.
Conspiracy theories
Oh
anywhere,
my gosh.
everywhere. All right. Which is fun, interesting. I will end on this. I will give a plug to another podcast that Smartless is with Jason Bateman and Will Arnett, and I always forget Sean's last name, but they bring on these guests. They had Huberman on, from
All
Huberman
right.
Labs, right? Which is really really interesting. But his big thing is vitamin D and sleep. And so
Hmm.
later this month, we're talking about sleep tracking, sleep monitoring. And so if some guy like Huberman is doing all the research to say, hey, you got to get sun and you got to sleep well, I'm looking forward to our classes on. I always love talking about sleep tracking and what it all means and all this stuff. But one of the things he said is like, how because one of the things we'll talk about in our sleep tracking class is the cycles of sleep. He goes, and I'm going to probably record and play this for everybody, but if you want to get more REM sleep, so you get deep sleep at the beginning of the night, and we get more REM sleep towards towards the longer end of your sleep cycle,
Correct.
turn up the temperature in the last hour of your normal sleep night, and you will get more REM sleep.
Really? Because I wake up warm.
Yeah, but then do you think about it with our smart thermostats? If you want to program it so that the heater kicks on like, an hour before your normal wake up time, he says that you will get more REM sleep, which will make you feel more refreshed and energized for the day.
Wow. Okay.
So a simple hack, but that kind of almost directly ties into what we were talking about
With the smart
with the
home.
smart homes. So I will play that when we have that class, and of course that class will be recorded. But anyways, um, granters, when I call them off
Sure.
one more
So we got
time.
our grantors Peninsula Healthcare District, the Dignity Health Sequoia Hospital, Sequoia Healthcare District, Silicon Valley Community Foundation, and the donor advised fund that they have also. So we have some donors that actually go through SVCF, El Camino Healthcare District, Forum Charitable Fund, Los Altos Mountain View Community Foundation, the Rotary Club of Los Altos, Health Trust, Touchpoint Foundation, Comcast, and the Kiwanis Club of Los Altos.
Yeah, and of course our individual grantors and donors as well. They stepped up big this
Absolutely.
year. Our facility partners, of course, Eschaton, the City of Milpitas, Veterans Memorial Senior Center over in Redwood City, Peninsula Family Services, which is the classes we do in at Fair Oaks, the Truesdale, the Via Palo Alto, City of Burlingame, Avenues Village, City of Los Altos, Indian Community Center. Now to be added onto the slide, the PJCC of Foster City,
Yes.
Peninsula Healthcare District, Fitness and Rehab Center. We're also doing classes like in Sunnyvale and Los Altos in the coming weeks and months. So we're kind of moving a little further down south, or towards the South Bay. So we'll be adding those partners and those partner facilities up here. All right. Of course, we couldn't do what we do without our friends and what we'll call our family here, and provide the benefit of what we do to all our seniors. All right. Any other last final thoughts? Value
Ah,
benefit. All right.
this has been great. Great catching up with you, Eric.
Yeah, that's good. So let's play us off. Let's see what happens if the music will play, and we'll go from there. Oh, what's happening there? There we go. All right. Veda, have a good night. We'll talk. Hopefully, we'll talk in a couple of weeks and get another one of these out. People seem to enjoy it. Little peek there, huh? Anyways, have a good night. We'll talk to you soon.